Hello champions, it's Teacher Adam. Welcome to Igcse math class, and today we are going to learn about numbers. Numbers is one of the most common asked examined area numbers is one of the most examined topics in the Igcse mathematics. Either you are doing core or extended, this topic is highly examined by examiners, and they always want to know if you know types of numbers. So for example, either you want to know about prime numbers, odd numbers, composite numbers, either you know the definitions of natural numbers, irrational, rational, and how to convert irrational to rational. So those terms they are commonly asked, and actually also what is also examined, they also want to know if you know either the definition of factors and multiples. What is factors? What are multiples? And then thereafter they might want you to understand how to list factors of different numbers. And also they can go further by asking you to find the least common multiple, and you can be asked to find about highest common factors of different numbers. And then later on you might be asked to understand the order of operation. So that's also one of the most asked question. Either you understand how to follow the order of operation. Hello champions, welcome back. We are in this topic also, we want to the most asked areas is either you know integers. So I'll start by introducing you into integers. What is an integer? What is an integer? We know an integer is a set. An integer is a set of both positive and negative whole numbers. So that's the definition of integers. Is a set of both positive and negative whole numbers. So we say an integer or integers is a set of both positive and negative, is a set of both positive and negative whole numbers. Is a set of both positive and negative whole numbers. In what range? For example, you might have numbers from, let's say, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to infinity, positive infinity, like no end. And you might have numbers that are less than 0, which is negative numbers, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, as you go down. So you see, champion, this is most examined area. They say they just want you to know what are integers first. We say integers is a set of both positive and negative whole numbers. So from negative infinity to positive infinity. That's it. Then from this, you can be asked about natural numbers. Then what are natural numbers? Also, we can be examined on natural numbers. We say natural numbers are any whole numbers from 1 to infinity, sometimes called counting numbers. 0 is not included. So natural numbers, we say any whole number from 1. So any whole numbers from 1 to infinity. 0 not included. So natural numbers, we count any whole numbers from 1 to positive infinity. Okay, then later on, we need to know about odd numbers. So what is an odd number? Obviously, that's easy. We say an odd number is any number that is not divisible by 2. That's it. We say a whole number that cannot be divided exactly by 2. So for example, we can say in the range between 1 and 10, we have 1, we have 3, we have 5, we have 7, we have 9. Champion. So ranges, mention any whole numbers that are odd numbers between 1 and 10, in the range between 1 and 10. You just say 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. These numbers are not divisible by 2 at all. Then we have even numbers. So we say even numbers, these are all whole numbers that are divisible by 2. That's easy. For example, in the range between 1 and 10, we have 2, we have 4, we have 6, we have 8, and then we have 10. So all these numbers are divisible by 2. So we say even numbers. Then we have prime numbers. What are prime numbers? That's amazing. Prime numbers. We say prime numbers. These are numbers. These are numbers. We say prime number is a whole number greater than 1 which has only 2 factors, that number itself and 1. For example, we say in a simple term, we say prime numbers. These are numbers. Yeah, we say these are numbers. We can say these prime numbers. These are numbers that have exactly 2 factors. These are numbers that are divisible by 1 and itself. Or these are numbers that have exactly 2 factors. And we know what factors are. So we say these are numbers that are divisible, that are either divisible by 1 and itself. That's simple. These are numbers that are either divisible by 1 or itself. You bear with my handwriting. So these are numbers that are divisible by 1 or itself. For example, let's say in the range, let's mention the numbers that are between 1 and 10. We say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So between these numbers, which numbers are divisible by 1 and itself? For example, 1 is divisible by 1. 1 is divisible by 1. So 1 obviously is not a prime number because it has only 1 factor. 2 is divisible by 1 and 2 itself. 3 is divisible by 1 and 3 itself. 4 is divisible by 1, 2, and 4. So this is even number, is not prime number. 5 is divisible by 1 and 5 itself. 6 is divisible by 1, 2, 3, and 6. So this is not a prime number. 7 is divisible by 1 and 7 itself. 8 is divisible by 2, 4, and 8. So this is not prime number. 9 is divisible by 1, 3, 9. So this is not a prime. Is not a prime number. 10 is divisible by 1, 2, 5, and 10 itself. This is also not a prime number. So we say prime numbers, they have exactly 2 factors. Therefore, we conclude that prime numbers between 1 and 10 are 2, 3, 5, and 7. Correct. Then we have square numbers. What are square numbers? We say square numbers, so these are numbers that are obtained by multiplying a number by itself once. For instance, let's say square numbers between 1 and 10. We say 1 squared is 1 times 1. You get 2. 2 squared is 2 times 2. 4. 3 squared is 3 times 3. 9. 4 squared is 4 times 4. 16. 5 squared is 5 times 5. 25. 6 squared is 6 times 6. 36. 7 squared is 7 times 7. 49. 8 squared is 8 times 8. 64. Then 9 squared is 9 times 9, 81. 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is 100. Also, this is what you also need to understand. And actually, in some of the exam, for example, in core paper, you might be asked to find square root. Also, another time we say square root of numbers. Square root of. Dear candidate, for any student, or if you want to perform well to succeed well in your IGCSE core or extended exam, you have to master these arithmetics, the square numbers between the square numbers of from the range of 1 to 20. So you need to memorize them, like square of 1 to 20. You need just to have them on your fingertip. It will be easier for you to understand when you know the square of numbers between 1 and 20, and then later on they ask you find the square root without using calculator. It's easier. Like for example, if somebody say what's the square root of 144, you just need to know, okay, which number do I have to multiply by itself once and get 144? So that's 12. That's 12. And if somebody say what's the square root of 100, you just need to ask yourself, which number should I multiply by itself once to get 100? So you just know it's 10 times 10, you get 100. The same understanding. Then later on, which you also need to understand, we need to know about we need to know about, so square root of numbers. So square root of numbers, first of all, the first thing that you need to know is to understand the symbol, like square root of. And whatever is inside square root of numbers should be a square number. Apart from it, if it's not a square number, it goes to surd. So I'll also teach you what surds are. Like for example, square root of 9, it means we need to find a number that was squared to get 9. So that's 3. Because 3 times 3 is 9. If somebody's square root of 25, that means it's 5. 5 times 5, you get 25. Square root of, let's say square root of 100 is 10. Because you squared 10 to get. So what you need to know is master. Kindly please, master all square of numbers in the range 1 to 20. Just have them. Square of numbers between 1 and 20. Just say square of 1 is equal to 1 times 1. Square of 2 is 2 times 2. Square of 3 is 3 times 3. List them there. Your work. 4 square, you list there. 5 square, candidate, you list there. And then you say 6 square, say 6 times 6. What do I get? 7 square, 7 times 7. What do I get? 8 square, 8 times 8. What do I get? 9 square, 9 times 9. What do I get? 10 square, it is 10 times 10. What do I get? What do I get? And then say you go then again. 11 square, you can say 11 square, 11 times 11. What do you get? 12 square, 12 times 12. 13 square, 13 times 13. 14 square, 14 times 14. 15 square, 16 square, 17 square, 18 square, 19 square, and then 20 square. These ones, you need to have them on your fingertips so that it's easier for you to find the square root of numbers. That's it. I'm done with that. So that's I expect you to understand. Then you can be asked again to find what are multiples, like you're told to define multiples. So we understand multiples. A multiple of a number, like multiple, is we can say when you define a multiple, say multiple of a number is found when you multiply that number by a positive integer. Like for example, if you multiply a number by a positive integer, you get a multiple. For example, multiple of 2. Let's say 2 times a positive integer. 2 times 1, you get 2. 2 times 3, you get 6. 2 times 2, you get 4. 2 times 5, you get 10. So we understand. Let's say for example, let me get one of the example here. Let's say for example, what are the first 3 multiples of 12? So multiples of 12. Let's say we need to first multiples of 12. And we say to get a multiple of a number, you just take that number, multiply by a positive integer. Obviously, the least integer is 1. So we say 12 times 1, 12 times 2, 12 times 3, 12 times 4. So you see what the product of multiplying a number by its positive integer, 12 times 1 is 12, 12 times 2 is 24, 12 times 3 you get 36, 12 times 4 you get 48. So 12, 24, 36, 48, they are multiples of 12. As simple as it is. Another thing that we need to understand as a candidate, factors. When they use this factor, if they say a factor or factors, we say these are numbers that divides a specific number completely without a remainder. For example, if you say factors of, let's say factors of 12, we say a factor. First of all, you need to understand what is a factor. We say a factor is any whole number, any whole numbers that divides a number completely without a remainder. N is any whole number that divides a number completely without a remainder. For example, we say, let's say for example, we need a factor of, let's say 6. 6 is a whole number. So mention factors of 6. Which number can divide 6, or which digit can divide 6 completely without remainder? So we say, you can say a factor is any number, is any whole number that divides a number completely without remainder. Or you can as well say is a digit that divides that divides a whole number without a remainder. So we say, for example, 1 divides 6 completely, 2 divides 6 completely, 3 divides 6 completely, and 6 itself. Those ones are factors. Also, that is also examined. For example, you can be asked, what are factors of 36? You say, so in other, they say which number divides 36 completely without remainder. So for example, you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 12, and 36. Or another thing, 18. Yeah. So you can as well have all this and say these ones are factors. Factors of 48 that divides 48 completely without remainder. You say 1, 2, 3. Name them. 6, 8, 12. As you go on, completely without remainder. So that is also what is being examined in this unit. Then you can be asked list the first 5 multiples of different numbers. You can be asked to find the factors of a different number. But from this, after understanding the difference between, or after understanding the idea of factors and multiples, then you are expected to know the least common multiples, maybe between two numbers. Yeah, like LCM. You need to know the least common multiples between two numbers, LCM. And also what you need to know about highest common factor of numbers. Like you need also to know about highest common factors of numbers, or you can call highest or some call greatest common divisor, like greatest common divisor, GCD. Some books mention that as GCD. So we also need to understand about that. So how do we find the lowest common or the least common multiple of numbers? That's the first thing that we're going to learn today. We say to find the lowest common multiple of 2 or more numbers is the smallest number that is a multiple of all given numbers. So we understand that the meaning of lowest common multiple, we say the lowest common multiple of two or more numbers is the smallest number that is a multiple of all the given numbers. For example, find the lowest common multiple of 4 and 7. So find the lowest common multiple, LCM of 4 and 7. So we have different methods. We have the listing method, the square method. So you have your choice. So I'll specifically start with the listing method. So we say for the least common multiple. So multiple of 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3, 12. 4 times 4, 16. 4 times 5, 20. 4 times 6, 24. Then let's say go to 7. The same. 7 times 1, 7. 7 times 2, 14. 7 times 3, 21. 7 times 4, 28. 7 times 5, 35. 7 times 6, 42. Okay, so between these ones, do we have any number that are common? Let's continue. 4 times 7, 28. 4 times 8, 32. So up to here, we have seen in 4, we have 28, and in 7, we have 28. Therefore, we say LCM, the least common multiple between all these numbers, that is between the two numbers, is 28. So we say 28 is the common multiple between 4 and 7. That's it. And you get, so you can be given a lot of numbers. For example, you can be asked, find the LCM between 8 and 10. Like as simple as it is. Find the LCM between 8 and 10. What do you do if you are asked to find the LCM between 8 and 10? It's simple, dear candidate. You just mention, and we know how to find multiple. You say you get a multiple by multiplying that multiple by a positive integer, starting with the least 1, obviously. So you say 8 times 1, you get 8. 8 times 2, 16. 8 times 3, 24. 8 times 4, 32. 8 times 6, 48. 8 times 7, 56, as you go on. Then start with 10. 10 times 1, 10. 10 times 2, 20. 10 times 3, so we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So you need to find which one. So we say find the least common multiple between 10 and 8. 70, 80, 90. Then you have 100. 10 times 11, 110. 10 times 12, 120, 130. Then go on. 8 times 8, 64. 8 times 7, 8 times 9, 72. 8 times 10, 80. So you can see LCM, least common multiple, number that is between the two numbers. A number that is between the two numbers. A multiple that is common between the two numbers. It's 80. That is the least common multiple. You can as well do as many questions as possible. So then I can give you let's say exercise. I can give you exercise. Find the LCM of find the LCM of find the LCM of A. Find the LCM of A. Find the LCM of 2 and 5, B, 35 and 55, C, 6, 8 and 9, D, 3, 4 and 18. Yeah, find that. Find the LCM between 2 and 5, that 5 and 55, 6, 8 and 9, 3, 4 and 18. So you can find the LCM between those numbers. Wow, that's awesome. We know a factor is a number that divides exactly into another number completely with no remainder. We have understood that. Now, since we know that, if they say find the highest common factor, it means they want the factors that the highest common factor that is between two numbers. For example, the highest common factor between 8 and 24. So HCF between 8 and 24. So you say a factor is a number that divides 8 completely. We can list 1 divides 8 completely, 2 divide 8 completely, 4 divide 8 completely, and 8 itself. 24. 1 divide 24 completely. 2 divide 24 completely. That's 12. And then 3 divide 24 completely. 8, 6, 4. 4 divide 24 completely. Then we have 6 divide there. Then we have 8. Then we have 12. Then we have 24 itself. Now find the highest that is between, highest common factor. You will see we have 8 and here we have 8. And then we say 8 is the highest common factor that divides between the two numbers. So you can either use the listing method or the square method. With the square method, it's easy. You can as well just put this way. Like you start with you use the prime factors between the numbers. As we say, 2 divides there, find the number that goes into 8 and 24. That's 4. 8 divided by 2, you get 4. 8 divided by 24, you get 12. And then divide by 2 again. Say 4 divided by 2, what do you get? You get 2. You get 6. Divide by 2 again, 1, 3. So you cannot divide. There is nothing that is common here. Then you say highest common factor is 2 times 2 times 2. And you get your answers 8. As simple as it is. That's it. And then the next thing that you can also be examined in this unit that you need to understand. So finding highest common factor, we all know you can be given big numbers and then you just need to manipulate. Another thing that we need to know in this topic, you need to know how to list. You might be examined they want you to understand how can you write a number as maybe in long form using factors. Yeah, that's it. For example, say they want you to draw a tree diagram. For example, they say, let's say prime factors are factors of a number that are also prime numbers. For example, let's say write the following numbers as the product of prime factors. That is also examined in exam. Like for example, in most core exam, they examine this unit. Write the following numbers as the product of prime factors. You can be told, you can be given a number A, 36, and then they want you to write it as a product of its prime factors. So what you need to do, just drawing a tree diagram. 2 divided by 36, you get 18. Then divide by 2, 9. You start with the least prime factor or least prime number is 2. And you know prime numbers. Then 3, 3. Therefore, you say 36 is written as 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. The same. You might be given a bigger number, let's say for example 48. Then they say, what are the prime factors? Or write it in the form of its prime, write it as a product of its prime factors. It's easy, just find 2, the least prime number is 2, 48 divided by 2 is 24, divide by 2, 12, divide by 2, 6, divide by 2, 3. Then just say 48 is the same as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, which 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2, 8 times 2 is 16, 16 times 3 is 48. That's it. They want, this is mostly examined in core paper. You won't see something like this in extended math. They want you to do. So in extended math, what they'll examine here in extended math, they will give you, for example, this question. They say a radio station runs a phone in competition for listeners. Every 30th caller gets a free airtime voucher and every 120th caller gets a free mobile phone. How many listeners must phone in before one receive both an airtime voucher and a free phone? So you might be given an extension whereby it's a word problem and they examine exactly what I've told you. So if you see a question like this one, just know they want you to use the knowledge of how to find highest common factors of numbers, as simple as it is. They'll use a lot of words here, but understand this. For example, this is another example. They say Lee runs round a track in 12 minutes. James runs the same track in 18 minutes. If they start in the same place at the same time, how many minutes will pass before they both cross the start line together again? So you find the highest common factor for both of them, and then that's the time. You start. They want you divisibility test to find factors. That's simple. numbers that are divisible by 2, numbers that are divisible by 10, numbers that are divisible by 5. We know them, we need to understand them in our fingertips. Now we go to another exam, another examined areas that is highly tested in your IGCSE math. In your IGCSE math, you won't run away from it. What is called irrational numbers and rational. You need to understand this. What are irrational numbers and what are irrational numbers and what are rational numbers? Dear candidate, this is very simple. This is mostly asked in extended math. This question, if you see numbers, if LCM doesn't come, square root doesn't come, prime numbers, composite numbers, they don't come. This one will come. Irrational numbers. If fraction misses out, addition, multiplication of fractions, maybe whatever, irrational numbers will come. What is an irrational number and what's a rational number? So we say a rational number. We need first by defining what is a rational. So we say any number or all numbers that are written in the form of a over b. All numbers that are written in the form of a over b. And we know form of a over b is what? Is a fraction. So we say all fractions are rational. All fractions are rational. All fractions are rational numbers. So you can say even 1 over 3, 2 out of 5, 6 out of 7. All fractions are rational numbers. Perfect. Or we say 3 out of 4. All fractions are rational numbers. Then we say irrational now. Irrational numbers, we say these are numbers that are written, or we say irrational numbers, these are numbers that cannot be written as fraction. Irrational numbers, these are numbers, we say these are numbers that cannot be written as These are numbers that cannot be written as fractions. That we say they are irrational. These are numbers that cannot be written as fractions. For example, how? For example, let's say you have a number, let's say 0.33333. So you can see they are recurring decimals. If I use the word, let's say recurring decimal, like 0.3, you can see with a dot on top, or 0.7, that means the number is repeating 77, or 0.88232323. So you can see these two and 3 are repeating in every pattern. So these ones are called irrational because they cannot be written in the form of A over B. This one cannot be written in the form of A over B. Whereby form of A over B, we know it's the same as fraction. We understand that. So what extended math will want you to do, they want you to use this knowledge to convert. They will ask you to convert irrational to rational. How do we convert irrational to rational? For example, how do we convert rational to how do you convert irrational to how do you convert irrational to So it means, how do we change recurring? In other words, they can say, how do we change recurring? How do we convert recurring decimal to, so recurring decimal, how do you convert recurring decimal to, how do you convert recurring decimal to fraction? Simple term as it is. So this is very simple. You just do this. You say 0, let's say for example, you have 0.3 recurring. This is the same as 0.3333 recurring. The same statement. So what we say, we have to move the decimal in front. So we have rational, one rational is the same as 0.33333. That's the equation 1. We understand that this 3 is the one that is being repeated. We multiply both sides by 10. 10 times r is 10r. 10 times 0.33, that means it will be 3.333333. That becomes equation 2. Therefore, find the difference between equation 2 and 1. That will be 10r is equal to 3.33333. And then we have 1r is equal to 0.3333. That means equation 2 minus equation 1. If you find the difference, you get 10r minus 1r is 9r. 3 minus 0 is equal to 3. Then the decimal part, you get 0, 0, 0, 0. And that's the idea of changing irrational to rational. We want to find the decimal part. Then therefore, you make r the subject, divide by 9, divide by 9. You get r is equal to 3 over 9, which is, when you simplify, you get 1 over 3. That's also one of the most tested area in final IGCSE exam. You might be asked to find, to convert numbers or to convert irrational to rational. That means you change recurring decimal into fraction. So you can even be given maybe 0. Let's say 1, 2, and then 7. But this 7 is the one that is being repeated. What do? You do the same thing. Just say 1 rational is equivalent to 1.2, but 7 is the only number that is repeating. Then you multiply by 10. Multiply by 10, multiply by 10. Get 10r is equal to 1.277777. Still, when you subtract here between equation 1 and equation 2, you won't get negative. Therefore, you multiply again by 10. 100r is equal to 12.7777. Still, if you compare here, still there is nothing here. You will get 0 on the decimal part. You make equation 3. Then you multiply by 10 again. You get 100r is equal to 127.7777. And you get equation 4. Now, you see, there is a relationship between equation 4 and equation 3. Therefore, we find the difference. If you find the difference, you say 1000r is equal to 127.777. Here, you say minus 100r, which is equal to 12.777. Therefore, find the difference. You get 900r is equal to 127 minus 12. You get 115. 7 minus 7, 0, 0. So you get 900r is equal to 115. Divide by 900, divide by 900. So r is equal to 115 over 900. Then simplify. If you get 115 divided by 900, what do you get as fraction? What do we get as fraction? You can simplify. 23 is the same as 23 over 180. So you can see it can champion. I'll give you different kind of questions for you to solve on your own. But that's also what is normally tested in your exam. You need to know about that. That's the most commonly asked question in exam. Also, another thing that you also need to know, apart from changing irrational or recurring decimals into fraction, you also need to know about cube numbers. What are cube numbers? We say a cube number is a number. A cube number is a number that is found by multiplying the same number 3 times. For example, we say cube cube numbers. We say these are numbers that are found by multiplying the same number 3 times. For example, if it's a times a times a, you get a cubed. So for example, if it's 2 cubed, you just say 2 times 2 times 2, you get 8. If it's 3 cubed, you get 3 times 3 times 3, you get the answer 27. So if you're asked about cube root, in other words, they want you to find a single number that or a single digit that was multiplied 3 times to get a cube number. So cube root, we say cube root is normally represented as that. So cube root, like for example, cube root of 27. In other words, they want that small number that multiplied itself 3 times to get that was multiplied, or it multiplied itself 3 times to get a cube number. Then, and if you're told cube root of, let's say, 64, you understand that this one will not give you an answer. Your answer will be, or you might be given, it will give you an answer. Cube root of 64, you know, it's 4. 4 times 4 times 4. That means you get 64. Or maybe say the cube root of, let's say, 125. What is the cube root of 125? There was a number 5 times 5 times 5. You are able to get 125. So okay. So and we said, like, you can be asked to find, let's say, cube root of 343. Let's say cube root of 343, and you know that that's 7 times 7 times 7. So you can be asked to find different cube root of different numbers. Let's say what is 8 cubed? What is 8 cubed? 8 power 3. 8 power 3, that's 512. So they say find the cube root of 512. We know that's 8 times 8 times 8. So 8 3 times 8 times 8, 64. 64 times 8, you get, so 64 times 8, you get 512. That becomes your answer. So that's finding the cube root of numbers. Now, something that also we need to understand, apart from finding the cube root of numbers, what else we need to understand from this unit? What else can be examined? You need to understand. We need to understand how we can write integers. Like the negative numbers can also be examined. Finding of negative numbers, and as we all know, the topic numbers is the fundamental unit of mathematics. IGCSE math. So everything that we're going to discuss is whatever I've introduced in all the topics. Either you're going to learn about fractions, either you're going to learn about direct numbers, either you're going to learn about powers and roots. Yeah, even there's that. For example, also what you can also be examined. Let's say I want you to have knowledge of powers. Powers. What is a powers? And then they also want to know how to write numbers in standard form, or they call short form. We have long form and short form of numbers. So powers, standard form, this is also one of the most asked area or tested area in your IGCSE exam. So what is a power? We say a power shows how many times a number multiply by itself. Example, if you have a power 3, this means the number a multiplied by itself 3 times. If you a power 4, this means a multiplied by itself 4 times. A times a times a times a. If you have b power 6, that means b times b times b times b times b, 1 2 3 4 5 6. If you have 6 power 4, that means 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. That's this number multiplied by itself 6 times. This number multiplied by itself 4 times. Sorry. So as you say, a power shows how many times a number multiplied by itself. That's the definition of power. But now here in the powers, it's a whole unit. They want you to know about laws of numbers. that have the same base. So these I'll teach you later, like, because there's multiplication law, there's division law, there's grouping methods. Like, for example, you're told a power b divided by maybe b power c. What do we do? Commutative method. So all these unit laws is a subunit there. I will teach you. But now we also need to understand about laws of numbers. But also another thing, we need to know about short form and long form of numbers. Like when you're given a number, you say a times 10 power b. What's a and what's b? This is on standard form of numbers. This is also as a unit, a subunit in itself. Then after that, we'll go and learn about now, after reviewing laws of numbers, standard form of numbers, I can teach you now order of operation. About maybe following the order. We say BODMAS or epidemas. Use that to solve different kind of questions. Then the last unit that you need to know about is rounding of numbers to the nearest significant figures. To the nearest, rounding of numbers to the nearest. And then you also need to know about significant. What makes a number significant? What makes a number significant? Yeah, what makes a number significant? That's also important. What makes a number significant? Rounding of numbers is very important to the nearest digits, nearest 10, 100, 1,000, thousands, hundreds, tens. What makes a number significant? That is also very important. Then another thing you can talk about, maybe what makes a number significant. That's also another thing. Observing order of operation is also very important. And then rounding each numbers, and then we solve out questions. So you, by just knowing this, you'll be done by the unit of numbers. But I can now exploit it through, maybe if I want to teach fractions, if I want to teach negative integers, laws of integers, when negative and negative follows each other, when we have a positive and negative close to a number, what's the effect? For example, let's say 3 minus 3. What's the effect? Like if you have negative and negative, or we say 3 plus minus 4, how do you solve this mathematically? So that's the most, those are the areas that most of the students fail, especially in core paper, Igcse. Dear candidate, join all the classes that I'll be teaching, and basically this will be the exam preparation for any student who has missed his classes, or you want to pursue Igcse curriculum. This is the place for you to be. If you join if you join our Adamside online platform, you will have an access to all learning support and all materials for all subjects, for all candidates, all level. I mean, from KG to A level. All subjects you'll be given with comprehensive examples, together with exercises, together with worksheet, and you won't miss. If by any chance you miss your physical classes, but you end up joining our YouTube channel, our online platform, our podcast, and all the materials that Adamside offers, you will not be left behind. You will be fully prepared for your final Igcse exams, AS or A-level examinations. You will perform, dear champion. Stay connected, be with us every day, and you won't regret. Thank you.